Welcome, practice community members, and welcome to the month of February. I am super excited because for this entire month and a little bit of March, we are going to spend a ton of time on the actual art of coaching. We spend a big chunk of our space in here, whether it's classes or content or conversations, really looking at the art of business. And it's an important conversation to have because if your coaching business isn't out doing its thing, it's really hard to coach the very people you want to serve. And the goal is to have both, right? The goal is to feel like a master, highly skilled and highly valuable coach practitioner, and feel like you have a highly skilled, valuable coach business. But we spend, I would say, about 75% of our time in here looking at the business side. And so this month, I'm thrilled to take a little pause and look at the actual art of coaching. And we've got some really cool things coming up this month I'll share about at the end of this message. And today, and for the month of February, I hope you listen back to this a couple of times. I want to encourage you to trust your coaching. It's really hard to grow something we don't fully buy into, or we're not totally bought into yet, or we feel like we're not quite where we want to be. And you do have to trust your coaching before it fully knows how to fly. And that can be a really vulnerable process. And so today I want to share just a few reminders and keys to trusting your coaching. I want to share our quote for the month from Michael Meade. Love Michael Meade. If you have not checked out his work, I highly recommend it. Listen to his podcast, read his books. He's a mythologist and a storyteller. And the beauty of story is that we are storytellers and story creators. Your clients come to you with stories every week. We have our own stories in our mind and in our hearts that we're carrying out and that we've bought into and that we're acting on. And I think one of my favorite parts of coaching is that we get to help our clients not only edit their stories, but write whole new chapters to their life. But I love this quote. He said, "The wound in one person can become the door through which everyone can find the center of life again." I think what he's saying is we are living a shared experience, and we all have our own personal experience of life, and we also have a lot of common ground. So if you ever find yourself getting really in your head, feeling like you don't know if you can trust your process, you don't know if it's good enough, powerful enough, transformational enough, all of the enoughs, remember that the person coming to see you, the person having this coaching conversation today, the one person in front of you, just wants to know that you're human, wants to know that in your own humanity, you've decided to dedicate your pathway to listening to the stories of others and affirming people and having compassion and love and capacity to support the possibility of a new future. That is all we want. And so let's make sure we're not putting unnecessary pressure onto the process and let the process do its magic. Here's why I believe coaching works every time. Number one, it's a process, not a prophecy. What that means is it's self-creating. Clients don't come in to something we've predetermined and then we place it on them. Coaching is a co-created mutual endeavor, which means we don't really know what's going to happen. We can say that we know with some matter of certainty that when you come into a coach experience or a coaching process, some things are going to shift and change and become anew, and you're going to be inspired and you're going to find new connections. That happens every time. But that's not a prophecy. That's not to tell someone this is inevitable or this is not possible. It's to say the future is unknown, and coaching is about creating a different future. Number two, everything you hear in a coaching conversation is a doorway, and the doors are infinite. One of the things I hear from most students is that they fear running out of things to ask. And I always say, if you run out of things to ask, you haven't been listening, because everything your client shares with you is an opportunity for exploration. Everything. And if you're 10 steps ahead trying to hotwire some powerful moment for them, you're actually not coaching. You're trying to predetermine an outcome that you don't actually know is going to be powerful. So you got to slow it down and come back to the moment. And number three, we're always moving toward choice. There's nothing in this process that fails because we're always moving the client towards more opportunity. let's look at the 3 keys to trusting your coaching. I think there's more than 3, but I want to just give you a little dabble and we'll try these on. And then if this lights something up for you and you want an even deeper exploration of your coaching process, stay tuned for a really cool challenge we have coming up that starts in just a week. Okay, number 1, follow the inputs. When you overly fixate on the outputs, which are also outcomes or results, you're more likely to hotwire transformation through advice and strategy. And I actually wouldn't call that at that point transformational coaching. I would call it what Leon Vanderpool calls it, which is transactional coaching. Don't listen for their wants only. Don't only listen for your clients' desires. I know that my clients' wants and desires are what got them into coaching, but I also know that simply wanting a different future isn't a guarantee of getting you a different future, because I have to also listen for your commitments. Now, a commitment is something that you're actually doing. And I know your commitments based on your past behaviors, choices, decisions, outcomes, current results, and present conundrums. That tells me what you've been committed to. And it also tells me that if something doesn't change today, the commitments that got you there are likely to continue tomorrow. And so we don't need to worry about the outcome. We move toward more positive outcomes organically when anything that's blocking or resisting or hanging on for dear life is out of the way. So we don't want to worry about what the client's doing or not doing. We want to worry about what they're feeling, who they're being, how they see themselves, and how that translates inevitably to their choices and actions. Key number 2 is to calibrate on behavior. I lovingly disbelieve my clients all the time. I don't mean that to sound cruel or critical. I disbelieve them because I'm very invested in understanding what they're actually doing, what their habits are, what their behaviors are, what their choices are, what their actual commitments are, like I said in key number 1. It tells me what they really think, believe, and feel. It tells me the story they're telling themselves and how they identify with that story. Calibrate on behavior means your clients can tell you till they're blue in the face exactly what they intend, but until I see what they do with that intention, I don't have a real indication of what they're prepared for. And if your coaching can't meet someone in the gap between what they want and where they're going, we're going to have a problem. And then you are going to have to hotwire some strategy to give them some sense of progress because we haven't gotten to the root of the problem. Key number 3 is to slow down. Rushing the process only gives your clients a falsified view of change. Prepare them in advance that if you've spent a lifetime becoming who you are, expect it to take longer than 30 days to unbecome who you are. I do not sell my clients into a coaching package that is going to be unable to meet their needs. I know that change work is work. It's work, it takes time, it's a process. It's typically not 30 days or 45 days or even 90 days. We have a responsibility to not only meet the needs of our clients, but to prepare them with accurate expectations of the time frame in which it needs to happen. Now, sometimes this means that they hire other people, and I'm okay with that because I don't want to be the one that's constantly up against my client's faux deadline or expectation for change when it's not functional in that time frame. I know for me, I like to work with clients for a minimum of 6 months. 12 to 18 is even better. 24 is amazing, but 24 months can scare people. So we go in 6-month chunks, if you will. And if anyone gets to work with me for less time than that, it's because we've done some big work before. So a quick reminder of how results are actually created and how results are never created. Sometimes I think we distrust our process when we distrust the time that we have to put in and that the clients have to put in, and knowing that it works every time when given the right amount of space to thrive in. So results are created when new connections, which lead to new views of old patterns, happen. And those new connections have to come from within your clients. You can't give them their aha. We can't lend out our ahas for our clients and expect it to actually change them. That means that the language of change has to come from their own mouth. They have to say from their own neurology, through their language, through their aha, in their own head, verbalize out into the world the connection that they're making. And if they don't get to have the opportunity to do that, they're not making the change. They're borrowing your change. You have to plant seeds of doubt in their current way of doing things, because the current way of doing things hasn't worked. As I remind my clients, if the way you were doing it were going to have the outcome you wanted, it likely would have happened by now, because I'm not typically the type of coach that people come to early in their process. You might not be either. And last, when intellectual commitments turn functional, what that means is when our ideal self and our ideal way of being in the world is actually happening and not just some fantasy. So that's when an intellectual commitment, which is the theory, becomes functional, which means it's actually doing the thing we wanted it to do. But on the flip side, let's remember that results are never created by telling your clients what to do. No one likes to be told what to do. Assuming your model of the world is theirs, giving advice or strategies without integration, motivation, and cheerleading. Your clients don't need you to rah-rah them. They need you to advocate for their future self. And that might mean actually challenging them, helping them polish their mirror, as Ram Dass would say, making sure that they are accurately understanding how they've created the current situation or how they're responding to the situation they're in, and how to facilitate self-empowerment towards a new choice in the future without giving them that outcome, because anything you give them is your model of the world, not theirs. And I think if you're doing anything on the right side here, you're way overworking the process, and it's hard to trust something that feels like you're constantly having to work hard for it. So a few questions to help you trust your coaching, and I recommend you take these to your journal, spend some time with them. Number one, who am I being when I receive the most affirmation or validation from others? What am I doing when I receive the most affirmation or validation from others? What I hope this will show you is who you are. Who are you when you are your most honest, authentic self? That's what your clients want to see from you. Number three, when in my coaching am I most likely to find my flow? Number four, I am the kind of coach who will. And number five, I'm the kind of coach who will never. One of the ways that I learned over time how to trust my process implicitly and explicitly was to stay true to who I am. And there's a lot of people out there who are going to make it look very lucrative to be who they are. And you have to maintain that groundedness that you got into this, not to be them, but to be yourself with a coach mindset. Be yourself with a coach lens. Be yourself as someone who studies the coach process and brings your own sense of self and flair to it. So if this has been a helpful, although a very surface level introduction to trusting your process as a coach, and you want to dig even deeper, I recommend that you join our newest challenge in the community, 5 weeks to powerful coaching, which starts on February 8th, which is next Monday. If you're ready to be the kind of coach who trusts their ability to create an impact in the world, come hang out with us. It is going to be such a fun 5 weeks. There is the 5 ways that I teach in AYL. I'm going to give you a taste of every single one of those modules over the 5 weeks. We look at transformational containers. We look at working with your clients' beliefs and stories. We talk about the emotional side of coaching and digging into things that are less convenient to coach. We talk about the neuroscience of coaching and how we actually construct reality. And we also spend a little bit of time in the spiritual side of coaching and those big unanswerable questions that we all have behind our desires when we come to work with a coach. So that is a pay what you can challenge. There's over 10 videos, there's 5 practice corners, there's a live Q&A, there's all kinds of stuff packed in there. In addition, you get free access to February's Masterclass, which is going to be on how to create a transformational coaching container on February 23rd. So if you want to just join the Masterclass, feel free to, but you could also pay the same amount of money and get the challenge and the Masterclass. I'm just saying, it's a better deal. So if I were you, I would sign up for both, and if you sign up for the challenge, you get both. There's also going to be, for challenge members, a live Q&A with me in March, as well as some other goodies and surprises thrown in there just for fun. All right, y'all, have an incredible February back here in the community, working on the power of good, integral, artful, important, mutual coaching practices. I can't wait to support that side of y'all's work, and I'll see you here in the community, and hopefully I'll see you in that challenge as well. Take care. Bye.